What's up, guys? It's Rick with the Digital Divide. Now, I love flea markets and thrift shopping. I love treasure hunting whenever I can to find stuff that you really can't get at retail these days. So I was thrift shopping the other day, and I came across the original OG Kindle Fire. This was before it had the Amazon Fire branding. It's not quite actually the first one. It is the second generation, but that is still 8 years old at this point. This thing came out in 2012. So this is a small 7-inch tablet, second generation, as I stated before, released in 2012. Second generation Kindle saw a bump in processor speed with a faster processor and double the system memory as the first gen. It runs on a modified version of Android 4. The specs are still decent. It has a dual-core ARM Cortex A9 CPU running at 1.2 GHz, a PowerVR GPU clocked at 384 MHz, 1 GB of RAM, and a 7-inch display. That display is pretty nice, actually, still. So the question is this thing still usable in 2020, or is it completely worthless if you were to find this at a flea market? So we're going to put that to the test and turn this bad boy on to try some games out and some other features. So we're going to unlock it here. Now, first impression is pretty good. The screen is actually really bright, and the user interface here is still pretty responsive. You can see that I've preloaded this with some games, but we're going to start with Netflix. Can you watch Netflix on this thing in 2020, or is it going to buffer and just run like crap the whole time? Let's take a look. I'm going to open up The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is a new show that just came out, I think last month. Let's see if it's watchable on this thing. So the resolution on this device amounts to a 720p display, and it's actually buffering the video really well, which is surprising. I thought this was going to be a lag fest, but actually it's running decently. You could totally use this to watch Netflix if you wanted to. So that's thumbs up, big thumbs up. So we're going to jump out of here and try a 3D game. We're going to try, well, actually, let's jump into the comic books first, because I do have Kindle Unlimited, so we're going to look at some comic books. So this is the Spider-Man Todd McFarlane series that I'm rereading. One of the bad things is you can't zoom in. You have to double tap in order to get the full screen, and you can't switch pages once you do that. You have to exit out of it, and then you can switch pages as normally, but the clarity of the screen and the color reproduction is actually really, really, really good. I could totally see you using this as a dedicated e-reader in 2020. Flip through a couple more pages here. Again, UI is still shockingly responsive. So now we're going to jump into Castle of Illusion. This is a complete 3D remake of the original Genesis game, but it's all polygonal. It's rendered with polygons, so it is fairly demanding, even in 2020. So we'll see how this thing runs. Alright, so we're loading into the screen here. It's hard to tell through the video. I apologize about the quality here. I'm using a new camera. Don't have it tuned exactly right, but man, this game is running really well. Like, there's no lag whatsoever. I thought it would be dropping frames, but it's running really smoothly. So far so good. And again, this is a fully 3D game. It's not; these aren't 2D sprites. This is all rendered with geometry. So we're gonna get to the castle here in just a minute. This game kind of reminds me of Super Mario 64 in that you go to a castle, and instead of stars needed to jump through paintings so that you get access to levels, you collect diamonds. So you collect diamonds, and each door to the castle requires a certain number of diamonds to access, just like in Super Mario 64, where you needed a certain number of stars to access different paintings. So it's similar in that regard. So you can see that, again, it's fully 3D, so we're going to run around here, and I'm going to collect these diamonds, and that'll give me enough to get to the first level, I believe. So we're going to try that here in a sec. And again, I'm super surprised by how well this is running. Honestly, an 8-year-old tablet, I expected this to be completely unplayable.
Mickey crossed the threshold.
Okay, so we're in the first level, and again, everything's running like butter so far, which kind of blowing me away at the moment. Okay, so off to a good start. I think we've seen enough of this game, though, so I'm going to back out. And let's see how web browsing in 2020 is on this thing. I'm going to go to IGN, which is my favorite, one of my favorite sites to get like gaming news and tech news and movie news. It's actually scrolling pretty smoothly. There's not a whole lot of delay here. So far, so good. Again, super surprised. Let's try a different site. Let's go to CNN. Regardless of what I think about CNN, their website does have a lot of stuff to load, like images, videos, that sort of thing. So you can see here it's not going too fast. Okay, still waiting. Yeah, this isn't great. So, first impression, yes, there should be an image here and it's not loading, so it looks like some are loading, some aren't. So this thing's decent for web browsing, but it's not the best. I would not pick this up if your intention is to use it as a web browser. So we're going to jump into another 3D open world RPG. This is called Auralon, and it's basically Morrowind. This is Morrowind for the Kindle Fire tablet. It is a completely open world 3D RPG. And again, it is a shameless ripoff of Morrowind, but it's actually pretty decent. And man, this is running... I mean, granted, the graphics aren't great, but it's running at like 60 frames a second at least right now. So let's go outside and see how it runs when we get into the open world, because I started off in one of the buildings. Okay, so now we're outside, and this is the open world. I'm in the middle of a forest. There is a wolf over there. I'm going to try to use my fire spell to see if I can kill him. I guess I'm too far away. It didn't work. So let's get close. And I'm just going to beat him with a stick instead. Actually, let's try the fire one more time. There we go. Okay, well, that didn't work out too well. He's still alive, so I'm just going to club him with this staff of mine until he's dead. There we go. And then I'm going to loot his dead corpse, because that's what you do in RPGs. So I'm going to go ahead and take all this stuff, even though I probably don't need it and it's worthless, but let's move on. And again, this is running shockingly good. I know it doesn't look that great visually, but the fact that it's not chugging along... Again, this thing is 8 years old. It came out in 2012. It's, you know, we're almost in 2021. This thing is pushing 10 years old, and it is still capable of running these games, which is really surprising. Alright, so I think we've seen enough of this. This game runs great. Let's see how it does with emulation. Let's run... let's do Sega CD. This is the port of Sega CD for the Kindle Fire. Wow, really good emulation quality so far. Wow, this is really impressive. This looks like, it looks and it runs pretty much perfect to the Sega CD original. So I would imagine this thing would be a fairly decent emulation machine. I forgot this game had time travel mechanics, so you could go from the future to the past and switch between the two during the course of the level. Now we're in the future. And again, this runs and looks perfect. Like, I'm super surprised, to say the least. I thought this thing was going to be unplayable. By the way, I bought this at the flea market for $10. A whopping $10. That's all it cost me. And it's a completely functional tablet, which is awesome. Okay, so I think we've seen enough of this game as well. This super impressive so far. So I pay for Amazon Music, so I get unlimited access to music. So let's go here and check out the music. See, I'm logged in, so it automatically detects that I have Amazon Music Unlimited. And so I can go to my music and just start playing some tunes. And it looks like it's loading pretty quickly. Alright, so I'm going to cut this off here because I don't want to get a copyright infringement claim. So overall, do I think this is worth it in 2020? Well, there's some pros, definitely. The screen has great color reproduction and is really clear for the size. Battery life is still shockingly good. I got a good solid 8 hours. The interface is still really smooth, and for the games that are supported, those are smooth as well. And again, I got this for $10, and if you pick it up at a flea market or somewhere like that, you can probably get it for dirt cheap. There are some cons, though. You can't upgrade the storage capacity. This thing has 8 gigs of onboard storage, and you're limited to that. There is no micro SD card. There's also no Bluetooth for syncing controllers to play games on. You're also limited to 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. There is no 5 gigahertz support, and you can't get the Google Play Store on here. There are ways to sideload it, but honestly, I don't think it's worth it, because even if you do, the newer games aren't going to run very well on this. Only the curated games I would stick to. So overall, I would say yes, this is worth picking up if you can find it for dirt cheap at a flea market or a yard sale or something like that. It is definitely usable in 2020. Anyways, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you for watching, and as always, I appreciate you guys.